Astronomers have found more than 6,000 planets beyond our solar system, but only a handful look anything like Earth. One of them orbits a star about 1,400 light-years away in the constellation Cygnus. Its name is Kepler 452b, a rocky world about 60% wider than Earth, orbiting a star that's slightly larger, slightly brighter, and significantly older than our own. Some scientists call it Earth's older cousin. Others call it Earth 2.0, though that name may be optimistic, because if life exists there, it would not look like life here. Kepler 452b is what astronomers classify as a super-Earth, a world with higher surface gravity, a thicker atmosphere, and powerful weather systems that shape everything that survives on the surface. If evolution took place under those conditions, organisms would be built for pressure, heat, and force. They would move differently, breathe differently, grow differently, and perceive their world through senses adapted to a planet more intense than our own. We don't know whether Kepler 452b actually hosts life, but we can model what life would look like if it did, based on physics, biology, and the evolutionary pressures we understand from Earth. Kepler 452b orbits a star slightly larger and brighter than our Sun, about 6 billion years old. That means this world has been exposed to stellar energy longer than Earth has. More time for chemistry to evolve, and more time for life to adapt or fail. The planet completes one orbit every 385 days, placing it inside the star's habitable zone. But this is not Earth's gentle balance. Kepler 452b likely receives around 10% more energy than Earth, enough to intensify weather, speed up chemical reactions, and place constant pressure on anything trying to survive on its surface. If life exists here, it evolved under a brighter sky, longer seasons, and a star slowly growing more powerful with age. Kepler 452b is classified as a super-Earth, meaning it is larger and heavier than our planet. Estimates suggest surface gravity between 1.5 to twice Earth's gravity, enough to reshape biology from the ground up. Under stronger gravity, atmospheres grow thicker, air presses harder, clouds become denser, storm systems last longer and carry more energy. Flying becomes difficult, standing tall becomes costly. Life favours low profiles, wide stances, reinforced structures, and slow, efficient movement. Weather on such a world would not be background noise. It would be a constant evolutionary force, shaping bodies, behaviours, and entire ecosystems over billions of years. On Kepler 452b, life would begin the same way it did on Earth, by capturing energy. But under a brighter star and heavier gravity, photosynthesis would not look familiar. Plants and microbial analogues would likely favour darker pigments, tuned to absorb excess light without overheating. Broad, thick surfaces would spread energy slowly, preventing damage from prolonged exposure. Instead of towering trees, life would grow outward, dense mats, layered canopies, low, sprawling structures anchored firmly against wind, rain, and gravity. Here, sunlight is abundant, but survival depends on controlling it. Stronger gravity reshapes how organisms support themselves. On a super-Earth, tall vertical growth is costly and collapse is common. Plant life would favour reinforced internal structures, flexible tissues, and wide bases that distribute weight efficiently. Nutrient flow would move slowly but steadily through dense vascular systems, protected from pressure and mechanical stress. These producers would form the foundation of every ecosystem, stabilizing soil, regulating climate, and feeding everything above them. On Kepler 452b, life does not rush upward. It spreads, thickens, and endures. On this planet, gravity dictates form. With surface gravity likely up to twice Earth's, tall and fragile bodies would be inefficient and unstable. Animal life would favour low centres of mass, wide stances, and compact shapes that distribute weight evenly across the ground. Limbs would be thick and reinforced, skeletons dense, muscle mass optimised for support rather than speed. Shells, armour and layered tissue would be common, not for combat, but for endurance. On a super-Earth, survival belongs to bodies built to carry their own weight. Movement on a high-gravity world is expensive. Jumping wastes energy. Flying is rare, short-lived, or impossible. Instead, animals move close to the ground. They crawl, walk, burrow, or glide briefly using thick air for lift rather than wings. Speed is less important than efficiency, and stability matters more than agility. Wide contact with the surface reduces strain. Muscle groups work slowly but continuously. Every step is calculated because falling under heavy gravity is costly and sometimes fatal. Predation on Kepler 452b would not be defined by speed, but by patience. Ambush replaces pursuit. Endurance replaces chase. Defensive traits dominate. Armour, hardened hides, chemical deterrents, and camouflage blend organisms into dense vegetation and terrain. Many species would rely on symbiosis, forming living partnerships rather than solitary survival. Social behaviour favours groups, herds that distribute risk, or pack systems that overwhelm through coordination instead of strength. On a super-Earth, life does not sprint towards survival, it outlasts. Weather is not background here, it is a constant force. A thicker atmosphere and stronger gravity would drive slow-moving but powerful storms, with heavy rain, dense clouds, and long-lasting wind systems. Animals survive not by escaping these conditions, but by enduring them, sheltering low, reinforcing bodies, and timing movement around cycles of calm. Here, the climate does not pass overhead, it presses down. The surface of a super-Earth is shaped by weight. Soils compact quickly, erosion is constant. Open ground becomes difficult to cross. Animals adapt by hugging the terrain, burrowing, anchoring, or spreading weight across multiple limbs. Movement favours persistence over speed and stability over reach. On Kepler 452b, the planet itself decides which forms survive. Kepler 452b may never be visited by humankind. We may never see its surface directly or confirm whether life ever took hold there. But worlds like that force us to confront a larger idea, that life is not fragile because it needs perfection, but resilient because it adapts to pressure, weight, heat, and time. On a planet heavier, harsher, and older than Earth, evolution would not slow down. It would simply take a different path. And if life can adapt to worlds so unlike our own, what does that say about how rare life really is?